Since the F-14's inception in 1972, it has been one of the most iconic fighters in modern fiction. It has traveled through time, been in flat spins, shot down Japanese Zeros, fought aliens, flown by dinosaurs, and taken out by zombies. Airtales presents a review of every depiction of the F-14 Tomcat in fiction, ever. This does not include documentaries, video games, or just pictures on the wall in the background of a movie. It's broken down into 5 categories. Credits and covers. Oh, was that a Tomcat? It's about to get real. Cut and paste, and the F-14 steals the show to include the top 10 countdown. Let's get started. First category, credits and covers. Some productions use a Tomcat in the opening or closing credits even though the rest of the story doesn't involve a Tomcat. Like Courage Under Fire from 1996, starring Denzel Washington and Meg Ryan. Bronson Pinchot's best work is having his name over a Tomcat in the opening credits. ETOT Fantastichesky Mir, translated to This Fantastic World, is a long-running Soviet TV series presented by a Soviet cosmonaut. I have no idea what they're saying, but they have a Tomcat in the opening credits. The Mighty Captain Marvel. The Mighty Captain Marvel comic book from 2017 has a beautiful cover of an F-14 with our heroine sitting on top of it with a helmet in her lap. Eagerly, you open the comic book to see what cool things Carol Danvers is doing in the F-14. Let's see, there's a monkey in a space suit, and then there's this cat, and then, oh, who cares? Next. All Night Long 3 from 1996 is a sick, twisted movie from Japan. The only redeeming thing about this movie is the very first scene is a Tomcat landing. Now that you've seen it, you don't have to ever watch this horrible, horrible movie. Sully from 2016 stars Tom Hanks as Captain Sullenberger, who landed his crippled plane in the Hudson River in 2009. At the end of the movie, you can see a Tomcat in the background, as the real Sully greets the real passengers at the Carolinas Aviation Museum. Next category. Oh, is that a Tomcat? Some productions have a Tomcat in the background and you might miss it if you aren't paying attention. Like Airplane vs. Volcano from 2014 starring Dean Cain. Apparently, an airplane gets into a fight with Volcano and it gets more ridiculous from there. The only good part of this movie is right there, a brief shot of a Tomcat. Next. Vice from 2018 stars Christian Bale as Dick Cheney and follows the rise of the former vice president. Cheney is one of 2 Dicks mentioned in the movie, the other being former President Richard Nixon, also known as Tricky Dick. Nixon is the president that approved the F-14 for production, and Cheney's the dick that canceled the F-14 program when he was Secretary of Defense under President George H.W. Bush. Which is ironic since the movie has a quick shot of CJ F-14s executing Cheney's orchestrated Iraq invasion in 2003. This movie spends a lot of time covering Cheney's political maneuvers, elections, and scandals, but doesn't even mention the biggest black mark on Cheney's career, which is that he is the dick that killed the Tomcat. Tears of the Sun from 2003 stars Bruce Willis as a Navy SEAL. He has a conversation with Viper on the flight deck, and a Tomcat can be seen in the background. Burning Blue from 2013 is Top Gun meets Brokeback Mountain. In between all the drama and the man love, you get a couple shots of a Tomcat. The Hunt for Red October from 1990 is a movie based on the Tom Clancy novel of the same name. A Baldwin tries to make contact with a defecting Soviet submarine commander. To add chaos to the story, an F-14 has a mid-air collision with a Soviet aircraft and has to make an emergency landing on the aircraft carrier. The F-14 can be seen rolling into the groove, but turns into an F-9F Panther as it strikes the ramp. But then we get to see an F-14 launch as the Baldwin boards a helicopter. Space Cowboys from 2000 is about a group of old astronauts that get to go back in space. Tommy Lee Jones' character is reminiscing about flying the SR-71 at the March Air Force Base Museum, and you can see a Tomcat in the background. Homeland. The Showtime series from 2009 is a CIA thriller. In the pilot episode, a returning POW gets a hero's welcome in front of the Tomcat, from the Carolinas Aviation Museum. Pensacola, Wings of Gold, starring Barbara Streisand's husband, is a U.S. TV series from 1997 about a U.S. Marine Corps unit in Pensacola, Florida. In the episode Power Play, there's a Tomcat in the background of many scenes. This Tomcat is from the San Diego Air and Space Museum Annex in El Cajon, California. Night Siege, Project SHADOWCHASER 2 from 1994 stars Frank Zagarino, who plays an android with bad hair and big chesticles that takes over a nuclear power plant. You have to suffer through more than an hour of this to get this one Tomcat shot. And then you can just turn this off. Total Force from 1996 stars no one you've ever heard of as an elite force that has to stop a mad scientist. The mad scientist's opening sales pitch to the Navy includes some Tomcat shots. The Secret Life of Pets from 2016 is an animated movie about what your pets do when you're gone for the day. The little yellow bird likes to get out of his cage, turn on the fan, and pretend he is flying with F-14's. He is by far the coolest animal in this movie. CSI New York is a U.S. TV series that ran from 2004 to 2013. In the Season 2 episode Heroes, Lieutenant Dan is talking with a U.S. Marine on the flight deck of the USS Intrepid Museum, and you can see a Tomcat in the background. This scene is clearly baked as all the people in the background aren't crowded around the Tomcat. I Am Legend from 2007 stars Will Smith, who is the last survivor in a zombie apocalypse in New York. While playing golf on top of an A-12 on the USS Intrepid Museum, you can see the same Tomcat that Lieutenant Dan visited in happier days. Transformers: Revenge of the Fallen from 2009 is the second film in the Transformers saga. In this one, the world's worst children's toy comes back to invade the Earth and starts by attacking a carrier strike group, for which no particular reason is all steaming extremely close to each other. Tomcats can be seen on the flight deck in the high shot, but thankfully we don't see any graphic close-ups of their demise. The Sum of All Fears from 2002 stars Ben Affleck as Jack Ryan in another adaptation of a Tom Clancy book of the same name. Drama ensues and Russia attacks a U.S. aircraft carrier. Parental discretion is advised, as it looks like some Tomcats were taken out in this one. Independence Day from 1996 stars Will Smith as a Marine Corps F-18 pilot that is fighting back against alien invaders. This is mainly an F-18 fight, but there are some CGI F-14s in the massive formations, as well as a few quick shots of an F-14 and F-15 escorting Air Force One. The F-14s don't look that realistic, which is ironic because the only Oscar this movie won was for visual effects. The F-14s are a bit hard to pick out of this movie, so if you're just looking for F-14s, you don't need to see this movie. Eye in the Sky from 2015 stars Helen Mirren as a British Army officer in charge of a Predator unit. The only thing that keeps this movie from being so boring is the blurry CGI shot of some Tomcats flying over Pearl Harbor 9 years after they were decommissioned. A Few Good Men from 1992 sees Tom Cruise play a Navy officer for the second time in his career. But this time he has to suffer the indignity of playing a lawyer instead of an F-14 pilot. Instead of a cool flight suit, he wears his
baggedy white uniform.
Easy, jeez. But when he arrives in Guantanamo Bay, Cuba, F-14s are seen in the background. These are actually F-14s from Point Mugu, California. XXX State of the Union from 2005 stars Ice Cube as a disgraced Navy SEAL that has to save the president from a coup attempt. For some reason, he gets into a tank battle on an aircraft carrier, which is actually the USS Hornet Museum, with at least one real Tomcat and what looks like cardboard cutout Tomcats in the far background. Then he catapults his tank into the other tank. Not sure how he got steam on the catapults in port or a tank on an aircraft carrier. That's a topic for a different discussion. Army of One from 2006 stars Nicolas Cage and is based on a true story about a guy named Gary that thinks God is telling him to go to Pakistan and get bin Laden. A Tomcat is seen on the TV as Gary is getting inspired. Attack on H-3 from 1995 is an Iranian movie about an actual attack on an Iraqi airfield during the Iran-Iraq War. It is in Persian, so I don't know what they're saying, but 8 F-4 Phantoms led the attack, but when they came off target, you get a quick glimpse of the F-14 fighter cover. Barcelona from 1994 stars Chris Eichmann as a U.S. Navy officer that is visiting his cousin in Barcelona, Spain. It's a whole bunch of talking, and then Mira Sorvino shows up, and then for no real reason, we're treated to this flight deck shot in the middle of the movie. Okay, next category. It's about to get real. This is when a movie has someone serious talking, and then they cut away to an aircraft carrier to let you know things are about to get real. Like Transformers from 2007, where John Voight is playing a serious-looking Secretary of Defense, and then it cuts to the unrealistically close-steaming carrier battle group with Tomcats on the deck, because things are about to get real. The Finest Hour from 1991 stars Rob Lowe, who plays a Navy SEAL. He has a bad mustache, they do some SEAL stuff, and then this dude is explaining how tensions are rising and an F-14 launches. Olympus Has Fallen from 2013 stars Gerard Butler as a Secret Service guy that has to save the White House. At some point, a dour-looking Morgan Freeman says something important, and then the news talks about the Navy. Black Thunder. Black Thunder from 1998 is about a new fighter jet that can turn invisible. The test pilot guy makes out with his girlfriend, but then a lookalike imposter bad guy kills them both and steals the jet. The top brass knows that only Michael Dudikoff can get it back. They launch a Tomcat, and then Dudikoff. Black Thunder. First Strike from 1985 is about a submarine commander played by Stuart Whitman that is trying to prevent the Soviet Union from launching a nuclear strike that would start World War III. There were some shootouts, and F-14 traps on the carrier, and then an admiral is told some bad news, and then a Tomcat gets loaded on the catapult and launches. Crimson Tide from 1995 stars Denzel Washington as the XO of a nuclear submarine. The TV reporter narrates over a military montage, lets you know that things are about to get real. 07th Changes Course from 2007 is a Russian movie about a slimy terrorist that takes over a Tu-160 Blackjack bomber during a Russian and American exercise in order to start World War III. At some point, we go to the U.S. carrier, where a 4-star with a goatee is running the bridge. And then the most uninspiring yellow shirt in the history of the flight deck directs something. Oh, good job. And then a CGI Tomcat takes off. Raise the Titanic from 1980 stars a budding Ann Archer. U.S. spies smuggled a rare mineral called byzanium on board Titanic, and the U.S. Navy wants to recover it to make a new laser weapon, leading them to raise the whole ship. Once raised, a Russian agent explains that they are taking Titanic since the byzanium was originally stolen from Russia. But a confident admiral shows his vodka-soaked counterpart a submarine and some Tomcats to force him to back down. After seeing the Tomcats, the Russian agent promptly runs off because he has clearly crapped his pants. Monsters vs. Aliens from 2009 is an animated comedy action movie from DreamWorks. The Earth is being invaded by aliens and the military sends in F-14's to attack the alien ship, but their weapons are of no use. So then they use monsters to fight the aliens. Countdown to Looking Glass from 1984 stars Scott Glenn as a TV reporter covering an escalating Cold War doomsday scenario. Apparently, after day 6, things were about to get real at any time. Flight of Fury from 2007 stars Steven Seagal as an Air Force Special Forces guy that has to recapture a stolen stealth fighter, and in the process beats up everybody. There's a Navy 3-star wearing an upside-down seal pin, and then some F-14s are launched, but it's not real clear whatever happened to them. In Her Line of Fire from 2006 stars Meryl Hemingway as a Secret Service agent on Air Force 2 with the Vice President. For no specific reason, the plane crashes on a tropical island that just happens to have a terrorist training camp. Now she has to save the Vice President. Some guy in Washington gets the news, and then they show us the Tomcat. And this shot was used earlier in Sum of All Fears with special effects. Heaven's Lost Property from 2009 is a Japanese animated TV series. Okay, there's an angel that fell from heaven, and she bonded to this perverted kid who she calls Master, and then they go to the zoo and let out animals, and the kid gets bit in the butt by a raccoon, and then he gets naked, and they think it's a terrorist attack, and then they launch some Tomcats. Okay, Japan, why do you have to bring something as pure as a Tomcat into this animated mess? Middlemen from 2009 stars Luke Wilson as a businessman that makes a fortune in the fledgling internet porn business. Once the FBI explains that they are tracking terrorists through his porn sites, they launch a Tomcat because it's about to get real. Next category is cut and paste. There are many productions that use footage from Top Gun and The Final Countdown instead of their own original footage, like the US TV show MacGyver starring Richard Dean Anderson. In Season 3, the episode GX1, MacGyver is trying to make out in a hot air balloon, and then they cut and paste the dogfight scene from Top Gun. This time it's flown by Panther. He doesn't do so well and gets gunned. Then Engine 2 is out, Engine 1 is out, and he is forced to eject. No Rios were killed in this scenario, and it looks like his crippled Tomcat had a midair with the MiG, so he still gets a kill to his credit. AIRWOLF, the movie from 1984, starts off showing you the test project that developed the helicopter. A cheeky iguana tries to get a ride on AIRWOLF. But he's okay. Then the test pilot goes rogue and steals AIRWOLF. And only one man can get it back. Stringfellow Hawk. Drama ensues and the Final Countdown scenes are used. The Philadelphia Experiment from 1984 stars Michael Perry as a sailor in the 40s on a ship that is experimenting with stealth technology, but he gets sent forward in time. They end up in the desert, and F-14 shots that look like they were unused clips from the Final Countdown are used. I'm only showing you still frames from the video because YouTube wouldn't let me use the video for copyright claims. Yep, this is the video they put their foot down on. Surface to Air. Surface to Air from 1998 stars Steve McQueen's kid who plays a pilot that wears NFO wings, and Captain Kirk's daughter that plays a Rio that wears pilot wings, and Michael Maston who plays the Marine brother of the pilot. Together they all battle the Suit Nazi, who eventually shoots them down with a surface-to-air missile, causing them to eject successfully, which is impossible because they were never strapped into their seats. But let's not get bogged down with accuracy details. This and the next several movies have used and unused footage from Top Gun, so there are Top Gun Easter eggs hidden all over this movie. Like here's Maverick's helmet, here's Iceman's jet, here's Maverick's jet. There's also some really good flight deck footage that looks like it was shot in the late 1990s. And these movies love to use this shot, which I've never seen before. Whoa, looks like the Tomcat almost departed control flight. This movie likes this shot so much they use it 3 times. This movie has some really awful cockpit recreations and cheesy intercrew dialogue, and the combat sequences are clunky and poorly edited. There's a lot of great F-14 footage in this movie, but it's best played on mute. The Pandora Project. The Pandora Project from 1998 stars a Baldwin and cake boobies. And this guy who has his rank on sideways. Baldwin is a CIA guy and he chases a bad guy. The beginning has a completely unnecessary F-14 flight sequence with the worst cockpit banner I've ever heard. But it does have some cool shots from the Top Gun archive that I've not seen before. Stormcatcher from 1999 stars Dolph Lundgren as an F-117 pilot. Stuff happens and then they start using Top Gun stock footage. At least I can find this movie in the widescreen format, so the shots look a lot better. Active Stealth. Active Stealth from 1999 stars a Baldwin and the Hammer, who play Army Rangers who are going to start a Ranger stealth jet unit thing. Then this Ranger shows up with a carrier and tells the CO of the carrier, who is wearing a submarine hat, that he's going to fly one of the Tomcats. Once again, a lot of the scenes are from Top Gun and the same cheesy cockpit simulations. There are a couple new shots like this one. This one's pretty cool. Then there's a dogfight with 2 gunned F-16s and a Tomcat gets shot down, and then the movie's just not really worth watching after that. The Marksman from 2005 stars Wesley Snipes as an unpopular soldier who has to prove himself once again on a dangerous mission. There are some good but unnecessary flight deck scenes. And then this dude comes back. After 6 years, the same ridiculous Army Ranger gonna go fly a Tomcat since he made it to this movie. And then you have the same Top Gun footage and bad cockpit recreations in this movie. It is literally the same dogfight sequence that was in Active Stealth, with the same half-departure pull-up shot and double-gun F-16s. There are a few good previously unused shots that made it into this movie, so watching this movie is not a complete waste of time. The final category is the Tomcat steals the show, to include the top 10 countdown. These productions have original F-14 content and it plays a major part of the story. First, honorable mention goes to the XP-14F from G.I. Joe. Even though it is called the XP-14F Sky Striker, not the F-14 Tomcat, it is clearly based on a modified version of the F-14 for G.I. Joe. The XP-14F can be seen battling the evil forces of Cobra in the animated TV series that ran in the early 1980s, which was based on the G.I. Joe toys. The best part of the XP-14 was the toy. That was a big ticket item for a kid. It was a complicated toy with retractable landing gear, wing sweep, functioning canopy, and a parachute for the pilot. It came with a pilot called Captain Brad Armbruster, aka Ace. Ace is from Providence, Rhode Island, and according to his data card is qualified to fly the F-5, F-15, F-16, and has a bit of a gambling problem. If you watched G.I. Joe as a kid in the early 80s, you may know the sting of not getting the Sky Striker toy for Christmas. And remember the white-hot jealousy you felt when the kid down the street did get one. And did he let you play with it? No. His mom wouldn't let him. She said it was too expensive to let other kids play with it. Robot Chicken. In Season 2, Episode 16, Santa ignored NORAD's commands to submit a cargo list and passenger manifest before entering U.S. airspace. Two F-14s intercept Santa with their wings back, which indicates Santa is doing over 300 knots in his sleigh. The lead F-14 fires a warning shot. Santa's ineffective brake turn lets the F-14 easily follow in his control zone and get a follow-on gunshot. Santa is clearly defensive, but he returns fire with a bazooka that was meant for Charlton Heston. The lead F-14 didn't expect Santa to have rear-firing ordnance and is splashed, but his wingman fires an AIM-7 and takes out the bandit. CI-5, The New Professionals, from 1999 is a British TV series that stars the Equalizer. In the episode ironically named Phoenix, CI-5 has to take down a notorious hitman. When he tries to get away on a C-130, they call in the F-14s. How the UK has access to F-14s is not revealed. Clearly in this shot, the F-14 would be chopped up by the C-130's propellers. The captain is not too concerned. This guy's like, I don't know what's going on. The captain still has no reaction. And this guy's like, I still don't know what's going on, but I guess I'll flip some switches. Where is Kevin is an online Aldi advertisement that debuted on the Aldi UK Facebook page on November 1st, 2020. The timely Top Gun ripoff sees a carrot and a turkey flying a Tomcat 34 years after Top Gun was released. But maybe this was released to coincide with Top Gun 2. This isn't your standard Tomcat, as it has winglets, ailerons, the roll spoilers have a speed brake function now, some antenna thing on the vertical stabilizers, new ejection seats, and the ability to jettison the pilot's portion of the canopy. Besides these system errors and the fact that a root is flying a Tomcat, it's a fun ad to watch. Postcards from Buster from 2005 is a half live-action, half-animated TV series for kids. The main character is Buster, who is a freakish child with a horribly disfigured head that looks like a rabbit. Together with his divorced dad, they visit various locations and record their experiences. In the episode League of Champions, they visit a trailer park in Virginia Beach, Virginia, and catch sight of an F-14 in the landing pattern of nearby N.A.S. Oceana.
Cool, look at that jet.
It's the Navy plane. They fly over here all the time to land.
All the time? I guess that's not so cool.
What? You were in a kids' TV show in a trailer park. Seeing an F-14 is the coolest thing you will ever do, Buster. NCIS is a U.S. TV show starring Mark Harmon that has been running since 2003. NCIS has 4 episodes that feature the F-14. Most of them are background shots. There's a scene with a line of Tomcats and Bandy 1 can be seen. But the lame producers decided to black out the Playboy bunny on the tail. Here, let me fix that for you. The only reason the NCIS ended up in this category is because the episode The Curse revolves around a Tomcat. A villainous sailor helps kill a Navy officer and stuffs his body in a blivet, which then falls off a Tomcat in flight, only to be found years later, which brings out the NCIS investigators. Medusa's Child is a U.S. TV movie from 1997 that stars Vincent Spano and future convicted college admissions scandal felon Lori Loughlin. A mad scientist makes a nuclear bomb and the rest of the plot is too boring to cover. But at one point, the aircraft carrying the nuclear bomb is intercepted by F-14s that apparently were modified to carry sidewinders in the drop tank stations. Voyage of Terror, the Achille Lauro affair, from 1990 stars Burt Lancaster and is about the 1985 hijacking of the Italian cruise ship Achille Lauro by Palestinian terrorists. The very first scene in the movie is of the F-14s intercepting the airliner. Then the movie goes to the beginning of the story and catches back up to the intercept scene as the story unfolds. Burt Lancaster plays Leon Klinghoffer, the only passenger killed by the terrorists. When the terrorists try to get away on an Egyptian airliner, F-14s are called in to intercept the airliner and force them to land. You do get a few shots of real F-14s launching, but the rest are models. The movie shows VF-211 as the intercepting squadron, but VF-74 and VF-103 were the actual squadrons involved. To get the terrorists' attention, the unlit F-14s turned on all their lights to show them they had been intercepted, except F-14s don't have inspection lights on the side of the nose like the movie shows. The flying scenes look low budget, and you can see the strings holding the aircraft in some shots, and I'm pretty sure I heard the puppeteer making jet noises with his mouth as the aircraft passed the camera. But menacing F-14s forced the terrorists on the airliner to land in Sigonella, and the rest is history. ASA-NISSE, Welcome to Nullhut from 2011 is a Swedish movie that follows a long-running Swedish character named ASA-NISSE. The movie's in Swedish, so from what I gather about this movie, he finds oil and there's a rich guy trying to buy it, and then at some point they get into a hot air balloon and have a fight with an F-14. The fight seems unfair, but a resourceful ASA shoots other balloons to distract the F-14 pilot. And just as you start to wonder why an F-14 is in Sweden shooting at balloons, a flock of geese appears that allows the writers to insert this one piece of iconic dialogue.
I'm hit! Talk to me, Goose.
Yep, you can turn it off now. Invader. Invader from 1992 was a low-budget sci-fi movie about an alien invasion of an Air Force base using mind control. And these three guys are fighting back. They make a getaway in a stealth fighter, but mind-controlled F-16 pilots are activated to chase after them. The stealth fighter tries to make it to Andrews Air Force Base, but the F-16s with brightly lit red cockpits attack. But the stealth fighter shoots down one F-16. Then, the Air Force colonel from Andrews says a surprisingly accurate line.
Is that squadron from Oceana still up?
Yes, sir. About 40 miles south of his position.
Have them investigate.
Wow, the low-budget movie writers actually knew that F-14s fly out of Oceana. Then CJ F-14s from VF-213 with really brightly lit red cockpits show up and engage the last brightly lit red cockpit F-16. And they get into a big dogfight over Washington, D.C. The F-14 cockpits are all wrong, and they show the pilot using the side stick. At least the pilot is wearing a Tomcat patch, even though he is not strapped into his seat. Once the Tomcat's down the last F-16, the stealth fighter could easily make it to Andrews Air Force Base, to the astonishment of the local line crew.
Cheese and crackers.
Flight of the Living Dead from 2007 stars David Chisholm, and it is exactly what you think. It starts out as a normal flight with people talking and relaxing, and then all zombie hell breaks out. And of course, what's the best aircraft to intercept airliners? The Tomcat. The Tomcat is your standard CGI Tomcat, but they did have access to a Tomcat cockpit for the close-up scenes. At first, the survivors of the plane are thrilled that a Tomcat is there to help, but then don't realize the Tomcat is there to shoot them down and keep this kind of zombie nonsense from reaching civilization. But the first missile just opens up the side of the plane and lets zombies spill out. Unfortunately, the Tomcat is inadvertently taken out by a zombie. MACROSS ZERO from 2012 was a Japanese animated series that is the prequel to the overall MACROSS franchise. It is set in 2008 and takes you through the final battles of the UN wars. The hero is Shin, a bristle-headed Japanese-American F-14 pilot, not to be confused with the mop-headed Shin that is the hero of the Japanese animated series Area 88. They both seem to be mildly depressed, non-conforming antisocial types that seem to be bothered that they're flying cool fighters. Shin gets into a dogfight with some MiG-29s, but eventually gets shot down by a robot transformer thing. And when he gets back to the fleet, They start flying the new robot transformer jet thing, and then the whole story really bores me. But the F-14 depictions are pretty good, even though it is just in the first few moments of the first episode. The F-14s have a few technical errors, like the radar scan on the TID and the jet shooting AMRAAMs, and Shin almost crashes on launch as he barely flies away after the catapult shot. But there are a lot of accurate details, and the dogfight sequence has some cool vapes and interesting video angles that are mostly only possible in animation, as well as excessively fiery and detailed explosions that are common in Japanese productions. Emerald Point N.A.S. from 1983 is a soap opera-style TV drama series from CBS, starring a young MacGyver and an old partridge. The show revolves around the lives of the people stationed at the fictitious Naval Air Station Emerald Point, but it looks like it was filmed at N.A.S. Point Mugu, California. The first episode has lots of F-14 shots, including some cut and paste from the final countdown, as well as other original shots of F-14s in the air and in the background. There are very few shots of F-14s in the rest of the 21 episodes, which is most likely why this series was quickly canceled. Crystal Triangle from 1987 is the original animated video from Japan. I've got to be honest, I have no idea or interest what this is about. It is weird and mystical, not sure if these are aliens or superheroes. But in the end, there is some important spaceship thing that Russia and the US are fighting over. The Russian helicopters try to take it, but F-14s start to shoot them down. Then some Russian MiG-29s and bombers show up, and the dogfight escalates. And after this big dogfight, the movie just seems to fade away to a benign ending. Supercarrier from 1988, starring Ken Olin, was a TV series on ABC. It had some good F-14 footage, but it was bad. I mean, awful. So bad that it has been reported that the Navy pulled its support for the series after 8 episodes due to the plot lines and poor writing of the show. Like the commanding officer of the aircraft carrier dating a subordinate and the ridiculous pilot talk.
I got you, Sierra. You're dead.
No, I'm not.
Yes, you are.
No, I'm not.
And what's up with your hair? Can you wear your helmet correctly, please? But the air-to-air footage isn't bad, and there are some actual cockpit shots that show real F-14 displays. And the show is full of flight deck transition shots. Turbulence from 1997 is about a nice holiday flight on a 747. Then a shootout leaves the pilots dead and flight attendant Lauren Holly to fly the plane, while a menacing Ray Liotta acts like a complete dick. Lauren tries to land but has a super low wave off and picks up a truck on her tire. Meanwhile, Hammer and an unnamed Rio join up in a Tomcat. Then serious-looking people decide that he has to shoot the plane down to prevent Lauren Holly from crashing in a populated area. And Lauren Holly is like, no, why don't we don't shoot the plane down? Then Ray Liotta goes all shining on the cockpit door. Hammer maneuvers into a firing position, but it's clear he's conflicted about shooting down a civilian airliner with innocent people on board. But hey, a kill's a kill, right, Hammer? He fantasizes about painting a 747 silhouette inside of his Tomcat. But Hammer's conscience gets the best of him, and he only shoots the truck off the tire. Way to go, Hammer. Archer. The FX Network animated TV series that has been running since 2010 follows the hilariously womanizing yet misogynistic and dysfunctional secret spy Archer. To announce the 11th season, FX released a featurette, which is a fancy name for a long commercial. It has all the Archer characters playing Top Gun characters, and is an homage to the fact that Archer is obsessed with referencing the Top Gun phrase, Danger Zone. We find out at the end of the commercial that we're watching Archer's imagination, as he is most likely drunk and fantasizing about being in Top Gun.
Arrived to the danger. Woohoo! Woodhouse again!
The Blacklist. The Blacklist is an American crime thriller TV series that has been running on NBC since 2013. The main character is played by James Spader, who is a former Navy officer turned criminal turned informant. In episode 21, a bunch of intriguing stuff happens, and then they have to shoot down Second Chance, the C-47 from the American Air Power Museum in Farmingdale, New York. F-14s are launched, and stuff gets broke. And now it's time for the top 10 greatest depictions of the F-14 in fiction. Number 10, Calvin and Hobbes. Calvin and Hobbes is a popular American cartoon by Bill Watterson. A 6-year-old precocious kid teams up with his more level-headed stuffed tiger to take on childhood adventures. In one of their most iconic strips, Calvin attacks his toy Chasmosaurus with F-14s flown by Tyrannosaurus Rex. One of the F-14s in the frame proudly shows 2 confirmed kills on the nose. Later, a one-frame recreation of this scenario was used in the back cover of the book There's Treasure Everywhere, and has been a consistent meme to show awesomeness. Number 9, Top Gun Maverick. Top Gun Maverick, starring Tom Cruise, is to be released December 2020. Granted, I haven't seen the movie yet, but there's a CGI F-14 that is flying in the trailer. And there's another scene where Maverick is looking at a CGI F-14 at the front gate of North Island Naval Air Station. And I have seen behind-the-scenes pictures of a static F-14 on the set that is from the San Diego Air and Space Museum. So I'm guessing they're not going to make the F-14 look bad. Number 8, Area 88. Area 88 is a Japanese manga series that ran from 1979 to 1986. The main character is Shin, who is a mop-headed aspiring airline pilot that ended up being a mercenary pilot at Area 88 in a fictional Middle East war. To leave Area 88, he either has to buy his way out, serve 3 years, or die. The two sides wage huge air battles on all kinds of fighters, from older Vietnam-era jets to newer jets like the F-18. Shin flies either an F-20, F-8, or F-5, but his buddy Mickey flies an F-14. This cartoon has relatively accurate aircraft depictions, and even the cockpits are pretty close to the real aircraft. The aerial depictions are colorful, exciting, and downright gruesome, with fiery explosions and blood-splattered kills that is not suitable for all children. Oh, got him in the eyes! Even though there is a dramatic storyline, oh, headshot! There's still plenty of combat action to keep your interest. Number 7, The Adventures of Buck Danny. Buck Danny is an American pilot hero of a French comic strip that appeared in Sparrow magazine as well as comic books. Beginning in 1948, Buck Danny has covered many eras of aviation and geopolitical turmoils with the U.S. Air Force and U.S. Navy. One of the comic books that features the F-14 is Mission Apocalypse. This story follows Buck through flying off the boat, and there's a comic book hottie who conspires to steal the F-14s, and a junior officer dances with a large woman. And the story really is not important. The dialogue is cheesy, and the story's inane, but the drawings are gorgeous and very accurate. This comic book is certainly worth looking at for the pictures. Number 6, Revenge. Revenge from 1990 stars Kevin Costner, who plays a Navy pilot that goes to visit a powerful friend in Mexico. He falls for his wife and they have an affair, but the jealous husband finds them and takes his revenge by sending his wife to the brothel and beating up Kevin Costner. Oh, dude, that's always hard to watch. But Kevin Costner gets well and finds the jealous husband, and then gets his revenge for him getting the initial revenge. Revenge is Tony Scott's second movie he directed that features the F-14 and shares similar tropes like aircrew wearing hats and sunglasses indoors, strange flight suit patch placement, wearing patch-covered leather jackets and civilian clothes, softly backlit make-out scenes, and a love interest dying in the hero's arms. The F-14 shots are at the very beginning of this movie and are pretty good, except the opening credits ruin many of the shots. The worst part of this sequence is the PANDORA Rio, who sounds more like a first-time flyer in severe turbulence than a professional crew member of a fighter jet.
Spare me! I had a machaca burrito for breakfast!
Relax.
Relax. It's my last flight, man. Relax.
Yours, not mine.
It's a pretty good movie, but if you're just looking for F-14 shots, you don't need to watch any more than the first 5 minutes of the movie.
I prefer a little altitude, sir.
Altitude?
Altitude.
You want some altitude?
Altitude!
Okay.
Worst Rio ever. Number 5, JAG. JAG is an American TV series that ran from 1995 to 2005 on NBC and CBS. It stars David James Elliott as a Navy F-14 pilot turned lawyer, but still uses his flight status to solve crimes. And Catherine Bell. Yeah. The series generally focuses on portraying military members as criminal degenerates, as our hero in white swoops in to save the day, all while virtue signaling on current cultural topics. Because of the Navy's many uniforms, each episode has more costume changes than a Broadway show. A positive aspect of the show is that it often uses the F-14 as a central character in the series. Of the 222 episodes, 44 of them have an F-14 in the show, sometimes in the background or a transition shot, but many episodes feature the F-14 as a main part of the story. Many F-14 shots are from Top Gun and other movies, and there's some cheesy CGI F-14s as well, but it does have some original F-14 footage. The show often has implausible scenarios, but does take influence from real-life events.
What's with the bloating? That's perfectly normal, Admiral. It's due to a reduction in ambient pressure. I suggest you expel whatever gas you can before the next maneuver. You're kidding! I'll wait, sir. Well, a little confined here. All right! Okay, here we go. Oh! Admiral, you all right? Mayday! 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 Washington Center, this is Navy 2878. I have an uncommanded ejection of my backseater.
Look familiar? At least if an episode does not have the F-14, it will at least have Catherine Bell. Number 4, Shaki Parvaz. Translated to The Delight of the Flight, is an Iranian TV series that ran from 2012 to 2013. The show follows an Iranian F-14 pilot named Major Abbas Babai. The show is in Persian, so I really can't tell if the drama's any good. I'm sure the domestic conversation would translate to something like this. Why are you always at the old club? You should be home. What? Just having a drink with the guys after we fly. I don't like that new guy. You're spending way too much time with him. Who, Douchebagel? He's a good guy. You'd like him if you got to know him. He drinks too much and chases women. Okay, good talk. I have to go to the squadron. Can't be late. It's Sunni Appreciation Day. There's plenty of F-14 footage in the show, as well as other military aircraft that will keep your attention. Many of the clips are from Top Gun, and they often repeated many times in the same show. There's also some pretty cheesy CGI mixed in there as well. But where the show really shines is when they use the real footage from Iranian F-14s. Flight footage and cockpit footage adds a realism to the show that many U.S. productions don't have. Like the field arresting landing of an F-14, taxi shots and close-up shots, and real F-14 cockpit displays. I mean, this is a real DDD and TID. And Best of all, for some of the air-to-air combat shots, they use actual MiGs, since Iran has actual MiGs. This is a feature that even Top Gun didn't have. Number 3, Executive Decision. Executive Decision from 1996 stars Kurt Russell. There's a hijacked 747 and some serious men launch the F-14's to intercept it. The Jolly Rogers appear again in some of the best puffy cloud sunset F-14 shots you'll see in the movies. Close formations are a bit unnecessary for the mission. I don't know why you would ever fly a diamond in front of an airliner except just to show off, but the shot looks cool. The diamond flyby in close formation still doesn't get a reaction out of the 747, so one of the Tomcats pulls ahead of the jumbo jet as if to say, "No, seriously, we're not kidding." But then the F-14s fly off, and who cares about the movie anymore? Number 2, The Final Countdown. The Final Countdown from 1980 stars Kirk Douglas and Martin Sheen, and from what I can tell is the first depiction of the F-14 in fiction. The USS Nimitz battle group goes back in time just before the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor, and they have to decide if they want to get involved. Carrier Aviation and the F-14 are stars of the movie. The vivid and colorful shots of the F-14s flying through white tropical clouds with blue sea background are mesmerizing. This is the very first scene in the movie. The F-14 Jolly Roger high-vis livery is one of the most recognizable paint schemes for the Tomcat, and it makes the aerial shots even more enjoyable to watch, as if the F-14 is dressed up for the movie. There are some really great scenes like the F-14's buzzing the yacht. There's an in-flight refueling sequence that isn't important to the movie at all, but it's great to look at. Another amazing scene is the F-14's dogfighting Japanese Zeros, that includes the infamous low-altitude pull-out of an F-14. The maneuvers, aerial choreography, and cinematography in this sequence is absolutely amazing. The Final Countdown set the bar really high for F-14 footage and is still enjoyable to watch today. The Final Countdown is a must-see movie for any F-14 fan. And now it is with no surprise that the #1 depiction of the F-14 in fiction is Top Gun. Top Gun from 1986 stars Tom Cruise and Kelly McGillis, and if you hadn't heard of Top Gun, then sorry about your coma. This movie thrusts Tom Cruise and the F-14 into superstardom and has made an impact on pop culture that can still be seen today. From Top Gun quotes and memes, and women's sexy Halloween costumes, and cute kids' costumes, and men's costumes. Oh, no. Top Gun is Tony Scott's first of 2 movies that he directed that features the F-14 and shares similar tropes, like aircrew wearing hats and sunglasses indoors, strange flight suit patch placement, wearing patch-covered leather jackets and civilian clothes, softly backlit make-out scenes, and a love interest dying in the hero's arms. Top Gun follows Maverick, an F-14 pilot whose ego's writing checks his body can't cash. I know that's what I was saying. Once you get through the peacocking and unnecessary shower scenes, there's some great F-14 footage, quotable dialogue, and catchy 80s soundtrack that still holds up today. Yes, it's cheesy, unrealistic in many ways, but fun to watch. How can you deny that seeing the Tomcat buzz a tower never gets old? The air-to-air scenes are quite spectacular, with externally mounted cameras on the F-14s, and the in-cockpit video during dynamic maneuvers puts the viewer in the aircraft with a realism that no other Tomcat movie can match. The high-energy flight scenes and dynamic editing will get your pulse racing and make your body feel a certain need for speed. I mean, right? High five! This movie is so popular that Top Gun and the F-14 are now synonymous in the American vernacular, even though other jets have trained a Top Gun before and after the F-14. And after all the shenanigans and antics that Maverick gets into, the final conflict ends with making the greatest F-14 reel in movie history, Merlin, with 3 air-to-air kills.